Negators, power nullifiers, power cancellers, whatever you like to call them. They have one characteristic in common. They are deemed boring or overpowered by the manga, light novel, and anime communities. Often these characters are looked down upon, not only in the real world, but their own fictional worlds as well. Their abilities are incredibly basic and serve just one role: to cancel or nullify the abilities of others. But wait, if these characters are so boring, then why are they so damn cool? These characters, despite having the most basic of abilities, always get some of the most memorable moments in their respective series. And even if they are simple, their ability to humble even the most egotistical and powerful of opponents was always exciting to see. However, the way each of these characters achieve these moments are similar yet different at the same time. Which of these 4 selected characters have the strongest power nullification ability, and which of these characters would win in full-on combat? Welcome to the Clover Kingdom, the society of magic and magic power. Here in the Clover Kingdom, and other kingdoms for that matter, magic reigns supreme. It decides the ease of your life, your social status, and how you're viewed within society. Those with a high level of magic power and control are usually a part of royal families that govern the nation, or are part of the Magic Knights, individuals tasked with protecting the Clover Kingdom from threats. Those with little magic power are incredibly important as well, as they can still use their magic and skills to keep stability within society. Everyone within the Clover Kingdom has some sort of degree of magic power, no matter how little. For someone to be born without it would be an anomaly. They would never hope to climb the ranks of society, and would be looked down upon by magic knights, royalty, and even peasants alike. However, it seems an individual like this exists, but despite not containing any magic power, they have quickly risen the ranks, and have been recognized by the most accomplished of individuals. They may look friendly at first glance, but this person has always had something sinister lurking within his reach. The 5-leaf clover grimoire hides within it a devil that holds the secrets to Asta's true power, the power to negate and destroy any and all magic the kingdoms of Black Clover have to offer. This destructive energy force is coined anti-magic, and its existence is truly a mystery even to the smartest in the Clover Kingdom. Anti-magic, like the name implies, is a flowing black energy that destroys magic the minute it comes in contact with it. However, pure anti-magic energy or anti-energy cannot always do this on its own. While it does slowly drain the mana of everyone it touches, that isn't very useful by itself. Instead, it uses certain mediums like objects to channel its power more precisely. Asta's swords, for example, are his preferred ways of utilizing anti-magic. The anti-magic swords can slice through and pierce through magic, which nullifies them. It doesn't matter if it's a projectile or barrier. Once that sword pierces or slices the spell, it will be instantly nullified, and luckily, Asta has the strength required to cut through the largest and most durable of spells. Anyways, each one of Asta's 3 swords has this basic ability to nullify, but each sword also has their own unique property as well. Asta's first sword, the Demon Slayer, has the ability to bounce back and deflect magic with the sword's flat surface. He often uses this to redirect spells back at opponents, or deflect powerful spells from crashing into an area. Asta can deflect multiple spells at the same time, which makes it incredibly dangerous to launch projectiles towards him. Asta can channel more anti-magic into it, which creates the Black Divider, extending its overall reach and size at will. With it, Asta can destroy gigantic spells with ease, and even deflect spells the size of small cities. Asta can even use this sword to fly for long distances, and call it back like Thor's hammer by controlling the anti-magic within it. Asta's second sword, the Demon Dweller, can borrow the magic of anyone Asta shares an emotional connection with, allowing him to channel their magical attributes into a slashing attack. However, the sword is mainly used to create waves of anti-magic slashes, which are capable of cutting and nullifying magic. These two swords do well to negate tangible spells that are launched, however they aren't well equipped to deal with spells that leave a lingering effect like poison. That's where the Demon Destroyer sword comes in, which has the power to nullify the cause and effect of a spell. This allows the sword to erase the after effects of spells, like curses and poisons, basically making Asta immune to them as well. The sword can also destroy someone's ability to reincarnate. The Demon Slasher can launch powerful anti-magic slashes like the Demon Dweller. However, with the Demon Slasher, Asta can selectively choose who gets affected by the slashes, allowing him to blindly slash through buildings and obstacles without any worry of hurting his allies. Each and every one of these swords are incredibly powerful, and Asta can often switch them on the fly in hectic battle situations. The swords are powerful on their own, but Asta can make them even more powerful by entering his devil mode, which automatically makes each and every one of his slashes and techniques many times more powerful and allows him to fly. Asta in this form is also automatically attracted to magic like a magnet, which makes it incredibly difficult to escape him. Asta's partial devil union and full devil union is the most powerful version of his devil mode. Asta can use his anti-magic to levels he could never before, to the point where he can nullify spells that can destroy the Clover Kingdom's capital and a large degree of its landmass with ease. One massive benefit of both forms is that Asta passively nullifies other abilities like spatial warping and gravity manipulation, making him virtually immune to their effects. Anti-magic can also massively increase Asta's strength and speed, giving Asta the ability to not only move faster than sound and react to light, but also casually swipe away large city-level attacks. Anti-magic goes through two separate evolutions. First, anti-magic can be transferred to others, giving them an anti-magic version of their abilities. And second, anti-magic becomes even more potent and powerful when paired with Zen, a technique which uses ki or life energy to augment and power up mana. Asta is able to apply Zen to his anti-magic, which gives him a 20 times multiplier to all his anti-magic attacks. Anti-magic's most powerful feat is holding its own against 50% Lucifero, the king of demons who not only brought the Magic Knight captains to their knees, but has been stated to have the capacity to destroy the entire world. Asta in his Devil Union form both passively negated gravity manipulation and ended up defeating him with little effort. Remember, Lucifero is considered the strongest character in the series, besides Lucius the Gratis, scaling the King of Demons above characters who are fully capable of destroying continents. So Asta and his anti-magic can nullify and defeat foes who can destroy continents, and maybe even the world itself. However, it's worth noting that anti-magic has some slight weaknesses. Asta must be close to or on par with the level of the spell he intends to negate, otherwise he'll be blown to pieces. It seems anti-magic scales with Asta's current strength at the time, and thus cannot negate a spell if Asta is many times more weaker than it. And second, Asta can still be manipulated by other spells like mind control or feel the effects of areas like grand magic regions. Well, anti-magic in general is easy to use, but hard to master. Its potency relies on the user's hard work and ability to scale to an attack. But thankfully for the denizens of the Black Clover world, Asta is incredibly hardworking and determined. This has allowed him to throw hands with the top tiers of the verse, and only really one person has the capacity to keep up with his overwhelming growth. The world is inherently broken. There's no such thing as an unbreakable object or a perfect human. Everything has a flaw that arguably holds them back from their full potential. Nothing is created to last forever, but many attempt to bypass this inherent flaw to achieve heights they were never meant to reach. Even the planets and beings they create strive to outlast their eventual demise. However, nothing can escape this demise. If everything has a beginning, then they also have an end, whether or not they are considered alive, inanimate, or intangible force. After all, everything has a flaw, the flaw we know as death. So what happens when one can view and interact with the inevitable death of all things? What if they could manipulate it and fast forward something's fated demise? Well, fortunately and unfortunately, there do exist beings who have gained special eyes that can see the truth of the world, creation, and the end. Once the mystic eyes activate, Shiki Ryogi and Shiki Tohno are able to observe the invisible flaws of everything in the form of lines. These lines are the lines of death. Lines of death are representations of an object's end in physical form. They're sort of like a pathway or road. Shiki can trace these lines with any object, like their fingers or preferably a knife. because once these lines of death are traced, the objects they belong to will be severed and fall apart. This seems to bypass durability, so no matter how durable you are, cutting your death line will dismember you regardless. Those who are cut are unable to heal their injuries or regenerate their wounds, as the death lines aren't simply cutting the flesh, but their very soul to their very existence. The death lines all accumulate into a large mass, known as a death point, which is the physical manifestation of an object's end. So while tracing a death line severs an object and breaks them apart, striking a death point outright destroys and kills them, erasing said object from existence. This can be used to kill mortal and intangible beings, like ghosts and zombies, even those that have 666 different lives, like Nero Chaos, as striking a death point can kill all the lives at once. Roa, a vampire who survived by transferring his soul into different bodies, was permanently killed by having his soul erased after Shiki struck his death point. Interestingly, objects that fall apart from having their death point pierced seem to affect those who happen to be touching them as well, as Roa's legs were disintegrated after Shiki destroyed a building he was inside. Since everything has death, every object both living and inanimate will have a varied set of lines or points covering every part of their surface, giving Shiki the ability to virtually destroy everything in the world. And I mean it. Lines of death do not just exist on physical objects, but concepts and other abilities as well. Shiki has observed death lines in the concept of space, which encompasses many concepts like time, infinity, and gravity. Shiki killed the concept of information, and has many times killed abilities of others. He for example killed Roa's lightning by severing its death line, cancelling its effects. He killed Arcueid's ability to heal after he destroyed her body at a conceptual level, forcing her to make a new body entirely. Shiki Ryogi was capable of slicing through and nullifying telekinesis, an invisible attack that should not be tangible. When she was targeted by a man who could see into the future with his mystic eyes of precognition, she was able to see his ability's deathline and proceeded to kill it, which ended his precognition and ended up blinding him, which in a way also means that Shiki Ryogi can slash and kill time and fate itself. There are several times when deathlines cannot be observed on an opponent, but sometimes they will appear when Shiki learns more about them, even beings who aren't supposed to have the concept of death. Both Shiki Ryogi and Shiki Tohno are incredibly skilled in hand-to-hand combat. They can often take on multiple opponents at the same time, dodge projectiles at point-blank range, and be on equal footing with dead apostles and even low-tier heroic spirits. Combine their skills with their mystic eyes, and these kids armed with pocket knives become 100 times more lethal. It doesn't matter how powerful an attack is or how fast it moves, as long as it has lines of death, they will be severed and destroyed instantaneously. The only thing holding the mystic eyes back are the limits of human comprehension. The lines of death and mystic eyes in a way are the ultimate form of precognition and fate, as nothing can escape that eventual end, not even ultimate ones and true ancestors. That's why in the hands of those who have lived in death, even immortal beings should fear their power.
男と抱き合う趣味はない。
The Port Mafia and Detective Agency has often come in conflict with each other, which leads to unnecessary bloodshed. Because of this conflict, new technologies and strategies are created in order for either side to gain the advantage. But regardless, the battle between the detectives and the Mafia tells a tale we've seen countless times over the ages. However, things are slightly different this time around. Unlike the usual bombs and guns that headline the warfare between the two sides, this time both factions possess powers known as abilities. Each ability is unique and quite frankly terrifying on its own. They can control the world in different ways, cause chaos, and outright obliterate everything in their path. These abilities are often powerful, and not everyone can control them. Some people in this world rely on their abilities to gain an advantage in the war for or against crime, and almost nobody can stop them. Almost. Dazai has the power to nullify any ability with his signature ability, No Longer Human. When Dazai makes contact with an ability user, No Longer Human will activate, and whatever ability he's facing will immediately be nullified. This works on any ability, no matter how powerful it is. Dazai does not need to touch the ability user themselves. Even coming in contact with someone's ability will result in their nullification. This basically means that Dazai is immune to any and all abilities in the Bungo Stray Dogs world, as none of them can even touch him, let alone damage him. It's worth noting that some attacks that have an area of effect cannot be fully nullified, but Dazai will still come out unharmed, such as when he survived a giant explosion, or when he was able to move when time was stopped in an area. If Dazai were to touch an ability, it wouldn't even be the specific attack that would be nullified. Instead, parts of the ability that weren't even near him will be nullified as well. His power will function even under multiple layers of clothing. If Dazai were to touch an object like a pole, and another ability user were to touch that same pole, their abilities would still be nullified. Basically, any object Dazai's skin comes in contact with will extend the reach of No Longer Human. No Longer Human's most impressive feat is his ability to nullify Chuuya's for the Tainted Sorrow. This ability allows Chuuya to control gravity to a precise degree. He can strengthen it, reverse it, stop it, and launch powerful balls of gravity. Chuuya can often use this ability to casually destroy large buildings and even entire islands. He can enter a berserker state that goes on a rampage without end, and it can be argued that Chuuya's ability is the strongest overall in the series. However, despite how powerful he is, one touch from Dazai is often enough to completely nullify Tainted Sorrow, bringing Chuuya back down to the level of a normal human. It's not like Chuuya would be able to hurt Dazai either, as No Longer Human would nullify every one of his attacks and nerf his physical strikes on contact. No Longer Human is active at all times, making it impossible to sneak attack him. However, foes can find ways around it by using a new technology called a gun. And although Dazai has decent fighting skills, he can still be beaten by anyone who knows how to throw hands. No Longer Human also has a hard time erasing mind control and curses, forcing Dazai to touch the ability user themselves or the medium for their ability. Another weakness of No Longer Human is that it can't outright negate supernatural forces. While yes, it's powerful against abilities are just one aspect of the supernatural forces in the Bungo Stray Dogs world, so Dazai is unable to nullify them, regardless of his handicaps. No Longer Human is arguably the strongest ability in the series, as it completely renders other abilities useless. Dazai may seem like an airhead at first glance, but his vast level of intellect and connections makes him a terrifying force for both the police and the port mafia to deal with. Magic, a glitch in the system of the universe, exploited by those who seek greatness. You see, originally, certain talented people in the world were born with unique abilities which allows them to control the fabrics of reality. These ability users are named gemstone espers, and their presence would of course result in immense jealousy among those without power. So what if in an effort to equalize the playing field, a group of scholars, saints and other groups joined forces, exploited a flaw or glitch in the universe, and used it to create magic, abilities given to those without talent. Magic is similar to gemstone espers in a way in which it can reshape the world and universe to do things never thought possible. Certain magicians who master this craft can even ascend to become gods, adding more things onto the world to change the way it works. That's not all. What if in response to the rise of magic, those that already had talent chose to build a society dedicated to pushing science to the brink? This same science starts to appear more supernatural, and those at the top don't even care if the world is destroyed in their endeavors. Now there's a problem. Magic and science has twisted the world into a strange form. Some concepts don't work like they used to, and one too many individuals are ascending to the level of gods. The magicians realize this. They begin to fear what would happen if their manipulation of the world goes too far, but they also fear losing on their newfound power. And so they all collectively wish for a way to undo and erase their mistakes, a way for them to start anew. These collective dreams accumulate and manifest into the Imagine Breaker, which kills the anomaly of supernatural forces and currently exists within the right hand of Kamijo Touma. It has the power to nullify any supernatural force within the realms of science and magic. Like I mentioned earlier, magic and science have distorted the world into a new form several times. These forms are referred to as phases, layers of reality which stack upon each other to create a new world. However, there still exists the original phase, called the pure world, which is devoid of supernatural phenomena. The Imagine Breaker is connected to this phase and acts as a reference point or lifeline, fixing the world when magicians overly distort it. When the Imagine Breaker makes contact with a supernatural power or force, it immediately negates it, showcased by a strange audible sound and a supernatural force breaking like glass, as if it were an illusion. The Imagine Breaker, when it makes contact with something deemed supernatural, is simply restoring reality to how it's supposed to be in a pure world, immediately annihilating the supernatural ability in seconds. It doesn't matter how powerful or complex your ability is, in the face of Imagine Breaker, it will be destroyed upon contact. Since it exists within Touma's right hand, it often has to make physical contact with a magic or spell to negate it. However, since he lives in Academy City, the direct enemy of the church and other supernatural forces, he often has to use the Imagine Breaker to end conflicts quickly, but he doesn't have to worry about secondary effects of attacks like heat, cold, or kinetic energy. The Imagine Breaker can cancel those out as well. Even physical items improved by magic can be destroyed. Interestingly, the Imagine Breaker also negates the concept of death, giving Touma a canon version of plot armor. It doesn't mean that Touma can't die, but it does mean that he's incredibly hard to kill. The Imagine Breaker only really has two weaknesses. It can't negate something if Touma doesn't touch the original source of the spell, and the Imagine Breaker has a hard time nullifying spells which regenerate faster than the nullification effects. The effectiveness of the Imagine Breaker is solidified on two separate occasions against two incredibly powerful foes. The magic god Othnis is one of the most powerful beings in the Toaru universe. Because she's a magic god, she can often manipulate reality with ease and can destroy the universe with a wave of her hands. One of the ways she accomplishes this is with her signature weapon, Gungnir. The legendary weapon has two notable characteristics. 1. It will always hit its target once thrown. Nothing on Earth, including abilities like vector control or the limitless curse technique, can stop it hitting its target. And 2. It cannot be shot down or destroyed in mid-flight. The lance does not simply vaporize lakes or destroy mountains. Once the lance leaves her hands, the world itself will be blown to pieces. That, combined with the fact that it never misses, means it's an insta-kill move on anyone. But not Kamijo Touma, as the Imagine Breaker not only redirected its trajectory, defying one of its rules, but the lance proceeded to shatter and explode midair, defying another rule, meaning the Imagine Breaker destroyed the lance's ability on contact. This also means that the Imagine Breaker can negate attacks that have the power to shatter the universe and destroy the world. This is further proven when the Imagine Breaker managed to block and later negate Kronzon's Magic Flaming Sword spell, an attack which is comparable to Gungnir in power and is fully capable of shattering the universe. It is said to have infinite speed as well. Touma was unable to nullify the attack the first time due to reasons I'm not smart enough to explain, but the Imagine Breaker still absorbed most of its kinetic energy. The second time Touma encountered Kronzon's spell, Imagine Breaker fully nullified it with no problem, and it's not like the spell itself was any weaker. Touma also possesses other abilities like precognition, allowing him to predict any physical or non-physical attack launched towards him. When combined with the Imagine Breaker, this allows Touma to intercept any attack, no matter their speed and power. It's powerful enough that Touma intercepted attacks that can hit instantaneously. Jeez, it's no wonder figures like Alistair want this basic power so badly. Its capacity to nullify magic of such magnitude could restore creation back to the pure world itself, and in fact, Othnis had already used it to destroy billions upon billions of phases in order to return to Touma's original world. Who knew the hopes and dreams of all magicians could create something this powerful? Now that we've established the abilities of these average Joes, who would win in a battle and whose ability to nullify is the most superior, let's start with their abilities first. We'll be splitting this segment into 4 categories: ease of use, versatility, maximum output, and range. Let's start ease of use by talking about anti-magic, which may have the highest learning curve. The energy itself scales with you and becomes stronger the more you train and the more you understand your own life energy. The swords, which are the ability's medium, are also incredibly heavy, and Asta needs immense strength to lift them, let alone redirect and cut spells. Otherwise, most attacks will blow him to pieces. Death Perception is next, and has one minor weakness. The eyes are basically useless if you don't have the necessary skills to use them. Shiki Tohno and Ryoki are demon hunters with years of honed skills, so they have what's needed to precisely cut the death lines of any obstacle they encounter. So in terms of ease of use, you better have the capacity to throw hands, otherwise the power is wasted on you. The Imagine Breaker is second on this list. It doesn't require any skills or training to really use, and will negate any supernatural phenomena regardless. However, the power is only relegated to Touma's right hand, making it a little inconvenient as long as opponents attack you on parts of your body besides your right hand. This is why No Longer Human wins the easy use category. Just like Imagine Breaker, the ability does not need any training or special skills to use. And unlike Imagine Breaker, the ability is not relegated to one body part. Since Dazai's entire body acts as a medium for the ability, Dazai does not need to worry about getting sneak attacked by an ability. In terms of versatility, there isn't even a point in debating. Anti-Magic is a clear winner. Anti-Magic can be sent in multiple powerful slashes or one big slash. Anti-Magic can grow Asta's weapon in size, giving him a large area of effect. Anti-Magic can be given to allies, basically allowing them to negate spells as well. Anti-Magic can be imbued into almost any object. These objects also retain their original abilities, just now with anti-magic properties. Anti-Magic can surround your body, passively negating a wide variety of spells before they even hit you. Maximum output refers to the strongest attacks each of these abilities can negate or cancel. I'd say No Longer Human is the lowest on this list. I'm not saying he's weak, but we have a lack of feats. The strongest attack he's passively nullified is a large explosion and time stop. However, he's often stated to be the only one who can stop Chuuya during his rampages. Chuuya being a character who can blow up a large island with ease, meaning that Dazai is capable of cancelling large island level attacks. As far as we know, Shiki Tohno has the third highest output due to his ability to not only kill, but also nerf Arcueid Brunstud, a true ancestor who is within the top 10 strongest characters in the Nasuverse. She is in fact far stronger than many servants in the series like Artoria. Arcueid also survived an entire moon being dropped on her. But even then she couldn't survive, getting cut up by Death Perception, as it ignored all her defense. Anti-Magic is next on the list. Asta and his Anti-Magic has casually nullified attacks that can destroy entire cities and resisted time manipulation. Asta is likely on the level or far stronger than Yuno, the captain of the Golden Dawn, who's likely stronger than Jack, another captain who was capable of sending slashing techniques which created a giant several kilometer long slash on the Clover Kingdom. Since Asta's far above the level of Jack, Asta should be able to nullify spells which are capable of destroying entire continents. However, this all pales in comparison to the Imagine Breaker. Even early in the series, Imagine Breaker has cancelled out abilities which can manipulate the entire planet. Touma has defeated Accelerator on 3 separate occasions, and he was capable of destroying the entire world. Imagine Breaker could destroy or invert billions upon billions of phases at the same time. Phases cover the entire universe. Touma one-shotted a being who could destroy all the stars in the sky, and on 2 separate occasions, Touma has negated and cancelled out the energy from Gungnir in a flaming sword spell, which can literally obliterate the Earth and the entire universe. So obviously in terms of maximum output, the Imagine Breaker has showcased immensely higher feats overall. In terms of range, as in the amount of varying phenomenon each ability can negate, No Longer Human, Anti-Magic, and Imagine Breaker are limited in the types of things they can affect. For both Asta and Touma, they can only nullify attacks which are considered supernatural or magical. No Longer Human has a similar weakness, but it's even worse since the ability cannot affect supernatural forces in general. This is where the Mystic Eyes of Death Perception gets the advantage. Everything has lines of death: the natural, the supernatural, the dead, and hell, even gods. This means there's nothing Shiki Ryogi and Shiki Tohno cannot cut. Everything has a beginning and end, meaning everything can be destroyed. So in comparison to the other abilities, the Mystic Eyes of Death can affect everything, not just supernatural forces. So, from what we can see, each ability does one aspect better than the other. But which negating ability is the greatest overall? I'd argue that the best ability is Anti-Magic. Now before you kill me, I have a very good reason for coming to this conclusion. First of all, Anti-Magic has the most range. It can be applied to near limitless objects, can shoot out projectiles, and grow in size. Second, Anti-Magic can scale. It's not like Asta some sort of prodigy or has anything special about him. He's just a kid with a lot of dedication and drive. Anyone can become as strong as Asta did if they had even a remotely similar mindset. So because of this dedication, his Anti-Magic is able to exponentially scale and negate magic, which can destroy continents in the world. If he could become potentially planetary in a short amount of time, then what's stopping him from getting anti-magic to universal levels of power? Anti-magic is similar to the Mystic Eyes, in which you need to put in the work to use it. And while yes, the Mystic Eyes can destroy concepts, anti-magic has potential to do that as well, thanks to the Demon Destroyer Sword and Asta already nullifying conceptual powers like time manipulation. No Longer Human also can be mimicked by Asta simply coating his body in anti-magic energy, which gets the job done well enough. Unlike Touma, Dazai, and Shiki, anti-magic massively increases physical stats, so Asta can easily go faster than the speed of sound, destroy large buildings with a single swipe, and tank attacks which can destroy continents. Anti-magic can pretty much do what the other negating abilities can do, just slightly weaker. A jack of all trades, one might say. But regardless, anti-magic is the best negating force when you take everything into account. So now that we've established anti-magic as the superior power nullifying ability, who would actually win in full-on combat? Well, starting with Dazai, he'd unfortunately get taken out first. Against Touma, you may think he should be on par, due to both of them being average Joes. However, Touma's precognition, combined with his crazy amount of battle experience, would give him just enough of an edge to defeat Dazai. Dazai would be reduced to Jello against Shiki Tohno and Ryogi, because of their immense speed, and the fact that Dazai would have deathlines, resulting in a quick and painful death. Both the Imagine Breaker and Mystic Eyes would also heavily overpower No Longer Human, since the ability is considered a supernatural force, meaning it can be nullified, and it doesn't exist above the concept of death, meaning the ability would have deathlines as well. Against Asta, yeah, that isn't ending well. He could theoretically nullify the effects of anti-magic, but Asta is just far too fast and far too strong, making his potential advantage pointless. But what about Shiki Tohno? Against Asta, Shiki would simply get blitzed. Bro couldn't even keep up with CL and Arcueid when they were fighting, and their battle was literally your average day in the Clover Kingdom. If Shiki were to rush at Asta, he'd be sent to heaven in an instant. I doubt he'd ever get to strike Asta's death point either, which would theoretically give him an instant win. In regards to Touma, Shiki would still be capable of dismembering him, and unfortunately for the spiky-haired boy, Shiki's deadly training and immense skills will be far too much for even his precognition to keep up with. However, if Touma's right hand happened to have a deathline, we already know how things would end. But regardless, one thing is clear. Asta absolutely demolishes every character on this list. He's just far too fast, far too strong, and far too durable. The best shot Touma has at winning is the entities beyond his right hand, but despite how powerful his right hand entities are, I don't see a scenario which Touma would get his hand cut off. Most of Asta's swords act more as blunt force weapons than sharp objects, and it's unlikely Asta will be that brutal to someone as weak as Touma, so the entities wouldn't really have an opportunity to come out. Despite how cool and great each of these characters and their abilities are, Asta's the GOAT. Even while being looked down upon by everyone in the Clover Kingdom, he trained hard and never gave up. And what was his reward? A chance to be respected by the strongest captains in the Clover Kingdom, and a harem of 4 girls. His determination and drive to become the Wizard King is just one of the few reasons when unstoppable forces collide, Asta wins 95% of the time.